The smell of wax and high-octane fuel, that's the scent of peace for me. I lifted the garage door that Sunday evening, ready to bring my overnight bag in, and I froze. Everything went still. My midnight blue Argenta Celerity, all $300,000 of Italian engineering, looked like it had been in a brawl with a demolition crew. The windshield was spiderwebbed, 1,000 hairline cracks glittering under the weak bulb. The hood was cratered, and both carbon fiber mirrors hung off the chassis, dangling like broken wings. For a solid minute, all I heard was the soft tick of cooling metal and my own breathing going shallow, shallow, shallow. Then I saw it, right on the polished concrete near the rear wheel. A tiny, almost microscopic fleck of bright, obnoxious rose quartz nail polish stuck to a shard of glass, and my stomach just dropped out. You see, I've stared down mortars with steadier hands than I had right then. But this was personal. This was Eleanor Vance, the HOA secretary. She'd been clocking my garage door with a stopwatch, preaching property values like scripture, and calling me a show-off soldier. I knew, the second I saw that pink fleck, who was behind it. I pulled out my phone, went straight to the security feed, and there she was, at 2:07 a.m., hefting a sledgehammer like she was crowned queen of the cul-de-sac. A slow, sickening ballet of pure, unadulterated rage. When I first moved into Cypress Creek Estates, I thought it was everything a man dreams of after 20 years of sand, sweat, and noise. Quiet, predictable. The kind of place where the sprinklers hiss at sunrise and the only drama is where to put the gnome collection. For 15 years it was peace. Then, they decided we needed an HOA. It sounded neighborly at first. Newsletters, barbecues, trimming the entrance shrubs. Then I met Eleanor, mid-50s, dressed like she was always waiting for a board meeting, even to fetch the mail. The kind of person who measured her power in laminated rulebooks and those passive-aggressive smiles that don't quite reach the eyes. The very first time we spoke, I was walking my German Shepherd Gunner. She stopped me dead center in the street. "Do you have an approved leash length, Mr. Hayes?" I laughed, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. She handed me a printout, standard leash dimensions, for aesthetic harmony. You meet plenty of control freaks in the military, but they usually wear rank on their collars, not pearls. But there was something in Eleanor's tone. Something brittle, like glass just about to crack. She wasn't just enforcing rules. She was looking for enemies. The rest of the board was fine. Tom, the president, a calm, reasonable guy who always helped with permits. Sarah, the realtor, kept things practical. But Eleanor, she wanted an empire. Her power trip started small. Citations for trash cans out 5 minutes too long. She'd measure the grass height with a literal ruler. When the neighbors across the street hung a patriotic banner, she declared it unauthorized signage. I overheard her once whispering to Tom that people here need guidance. Tom just looked weary. Then came the turning point, the day my Argenta rolled in. I'd bought it after years of saving, deployment bonuses, disability comp, a lucky stock investment. It was pure engineering poetry. To me, it wasn't a flex. It was a reward for surviving things most people couldn't imagine. When I parked it, sunlight glinting off that midnight blue, I felt like I'd finally closed the chapter between war and peace. The neighbors loved it. Kids gawked. Tom gave me a thumbs up. Everyone except Eleanor. She appeared that afternoon, clipboard in hand, looking like a customs officer searching for contraband. "Beautiful car," she said flatly, "though I'm not sure a commercial-grade vehicle aligns with our HOA guidelines." Commercial grade? I smiled, the way you smile when your rifle jams in training. Tight, forced, impatient. "It's a car, Eleanor." "Good thing I'm not selling property then." Her jaw twitched. She scribbled something and walked away without another word. That was our first skirmish. Over the next few weeks, her patrols became routine. I'd catch her walking slowly, eyes scanning my garage. Once she was crouched by my lawn, taking pictures of a patch of clover. The next day, a letter arrived. Notice of weed infestation. Corrective action required within 48 hours. I called Tom, the president. He just groaned. "Ignore it, John. Clover's not even classified as a weed here." "She's over-enthusiastic." "Over-enthusiastic," I repeated. That's one word for it, but I knew bullies like Eleanor. Warnings don't stop them. Consequences do. By early summer, her obsession escalated. She called the police on the teenager down the street for riding their bike too loudly. She argued about the unauthorized color of a garden hose. One Saturday, I was detailing the Argenta in my open garage. She stopped right in the sunbeam, arms crossed. "Excuse me. You can't operate a commercial garage here. I'm cleaning my own car, Eleanor. You have equipment, chemicals, noise. You're obviously running a detailing business." She raised her phone and started filming. I straightened slowly, my military calm kicking in. "You're trespassing, ma'am. Please leave. This is public enforcement," she declared. "As HOA secretary, I have authority." "Then comply with my request to leave my private property," I said, my voice low and even. Her lips tightened. "You'll regret this." By Monday, I had 3 violation letters: excessive noise, commercial activity, failure to maintain closed garage policy. There was no such policy. Tom confirmed it later, exhausted. "She's out of control, John. We're calling an emergency board meeting next week," I said. "Do that. But I'll handle myself in the meantime." I wasn't angry yet, just alert. I could tell this wasn't over. Eleanor's need for control wasn't about the rules. It was about power. And when people like that lose power, they look for something, or someone, to destroy. Every night I sat on the porch, Gunner at my feet watching the sunset. Peace had a different flavor now, bitter at the edges. I'd seen men unravel in combat zones. I could see the same madness creeping behind her polite smile. Tom stopped by one evening. "We're trying to vote her off, John, but she's threatening to sue the HOA for discrimination. Claims we're targeting her because she's a single woman." I chuckled darkly. "Tell her I'll write a character reference, enemy combatant, high persistence." "Just keep your head down," Tom sighed. I nodded, but inside I was already running scenarios. Legal, physical, financial, old habits die hard. The next morning, I installed those high-def, motion-activated, cloud-synced security cameras. Years of deployment taught me this. The worst threats aren't the loudest. They're the ones who smile before they strike. And Eleanor had been smiling a lot lately. The final confrontation happened during a routine HOA meeting. I went against my better judgment. I wanted to see how deep her claws had sunk. She was flanked by a stack of folders so tall it looked like she was prepping for a court trial. "Ah, Mr. Hayes," she said, her voice dripping with that sick sweetness. "So glad you could join us," she started immediately. "The board has received multiple complaints regarding Mr. Hayes' activities, and I'd like to propose a new amendment. Vehicles exceeding 75 dB of engine noise must not operate within the neighborhood." Tom blinked. "Eleanor, that's absurd." "That would ban half the cars in this city. But we have to protect our property values from excess," she countered, the word hanging in the air like a veiled insult. I stood up slowly, my voice calm but cutting. "You know what's excessive, Eleanor? Spending your retirement spying on your neighbors. You've been fabricating violations, trespassing on property, and harassing families. You called the cops on 8-year-olds, for God's sake." She flushed red. "Excuse me, you don't care about community," I said, leaning over the table. "You care about control." Her mask cracked. "Your aggression is exactly why people feel unsafe." "People feel unsafe because you're a bully," I shot back. She slammed her folder shut. "I will not be disrespected by someone who hides behind his service record." That hit below the belt. I stared at her. "I didn't serve for respect, Eleanor. I served so you could have the freedom to be this insufferable." Gasp. She stormed out. Tom just shook his head. "John, I think you just made her your full-time enemy." I gave a humorless smile. She already was. The neighborhood went quiet after that. Too quiet. That silence, I knew, was just the space between attacks. So I set my trap. I drove my old truck 2 hours north to my sister's place that weekend, making sure Eleanor's twitching curtain caught me leaving. The Argenta Celerity stayed in the garage, pristine, gleaming, a perfect silent target. I was gone for 36 hours. When I opened that garage door on Sunday night, the scene was exactly what I told you. Ruined metal, oil and coolant on the concrete, and that fleck of pink polish. I forced myself to act methodically. Step 1, record everything. Step 2, the security app. Scrubbed at 2:07 a.m., there she was, marching up the drive in her pink cardigan, sledgehammer held high. The infrared caught her perfectly as she paused, forced the garage door open. And for 20 straight minutes, she brought the hammer down, over and over, each hit punctuated by her face twisting with hatred. And when she walked out, she didn't rush. She just smiled. I called 911. "Sir, please confirm no one's injured." "Just the Argenta," I said. It even earned a stifled chuckle from the dispatcher. When Officer Willow arrived, a tall, calm guy who noticed everything, He circled the car once, let out a low whistle. "This is personal, John. Someone wanted to hurt you." "I know who," I said, handing him my PI. 20 minutes later, the cul-de-sac glowed red and blue again. Eleanor was standing on her porch, pale and trembling, the sledgehammer leaning against the railing like a bad prop. When the officers cuffed her, she screamed about injustice, about veterans being violent freeloaders, about how it wasn't fair that he gets a luxury car while she works a real job. I just stood there, arms crossed, watching her melt down. As the patrol car pulled away, she caught sight of me and shrieked, "You ruined my life." "This isn't over!" Willow turned to me. "She's not getting out of this one." Open and shut case. "Sleep easy tonight," I tried, but I knew she wasn't done. The neighborhood went silent again. 2 days later, Eleanor was out on bail. Tom called, warning me. "She's claiming PTSD discrimination, John. Says you threatened her. She's calling everyone, saying the video was fake." "She smashed my car with a sledgehammer, Tom. What's she going to argue? Temporary blindness from jealousy?" "Be careful, John," Sarah the realtor whispered to me later. "You humiliated her. That kind of person doesn't forgive. They retaliate." I was already careful. I reinforced the locks, adjusted the camera angles, and set Gunner's bed near the door. My instincts were humming again, that old cold clarity that kept me alive overseas. The following day, I was in my garage, working on one of the dented mirrors for the claim. Then a familiar voice pierced the quiet. "John Davis," I turned. Eleanor stood at the edge of my driveway, eyes red-rimmed but burning with that same venomous intensity. "You've destroyed me," she shouted. "I lost my job because of you." I put down the wrench. "You lost your job because you committed a felony. You set me up. You faked that footage. There's a police officer who would love to hear you say that again." "Want me to call him?" Her nostrils flared. "You think you're some kind of hero because you wore a uniform, but all I see is a bully who hides behind it." I took a step closer, my voice steady. "The difference between us, Eleanor, is that I earned my scars doing something useful. You earned yours fighting over lawn height." Her face twisted, trembling between rage and humiliation. "I'll make you pay for this." She stormed off. That evening, I reviewed the footage of the confrontation. At the very end of the clip, just before the timestamp rolled to black, I saw it. She dropped something. Glinting faintly under the streetlight, a simple metal key with a sticker labeled garage. My stomach sank. The HOA had required a spare key for emergency access last year. I'd given it to the board, probably through Eleanor. I called Willow again. "She might still have access to your property?" His tone was sharp. "Now, she dropped a key yesterday." "Jesus. Keep those doors locked." "John, we'll send a patrol through." I knew a patrol car wouldn't stop someone fueled by this kind of obsession. At 11:43 p.m., Gunner started barking. "Low urgent protective." My phone buzzed, motion detected. The live feed flickered on. The view was grainy, but clear enough to see Eleanor standing in the middle of my driveway again, holding that same damn sledgehammer. She wasn't looking at the car this time. She was looking at my house. I called 911 instantly. "The woman who vandalized my car is back. She's armed. She's trying to break in." I stayed on the line, listening as she lifted the hammer and started shouting into the night. "You ruined my life, you bastard." "I'll finish what I started." The dispatcher's voice remained calm. "Units are en route. Stay inside. Do not engage." But she was already charging. The hammer slammed into my front door with a deafening crack. Gunner barked like a thunderstorm. The second swing never landed. I opened the door halfway, just enough to meet her momentum. Years of combat training took over. I sidestepped, grabbed her wrist, twisted, and used her own strength to pull her forward. The hammer flew from her hands, clattering against the concrete. She screamed, clawing at my face. I could smell alcohol mixed with pure desperation. "Stand down," I barked. She didn't. So I did what training demanded, a single controlled strike to her jaw. Enough to stop, not to maim. She collapsed out cold. I stepped back, breathing hard as Gunner growled beside me. The hammer lay on the ground between us, a silent testament to how far she'd fallen. Minutes later, Willow jumped out of his cruiser, eyes wide. "You've got to be kidding me. Didn't she just make bail?" "She did," I said flatly. "And she brought her weapon of choice." They cuffed her again. And as they dragged her toward the patrol car, she came to, screaming about conspiracies and how I'd attacked an unarmed woman. Willow just shook his head. "Ma'am, you broke into a home with a deadly weapon while on bail for a felony. You're done. The court date came 6 weeks later. I didn't want to go, but Willow insisted my testimony would make the case airtight. Eleanor was smaller somehow, shoulders hunched. No trace of the power-hungry enforcer. She didn't look at me, not once. The prosecutor played the footage. Eleanor with the hammer. Eleanor confessing. Eleanor charging across my lawn. When the defense tried to argue temporary mental breakdown, Willow leaned over and whispered, "If destroying someone's car is a breakdown, half the country would be in therapy." The judge denied bail, revoked probation, and handed down the sentence, 5 years in state prison with mandatory psychiatric evaluation. Justice finally caught up. Later, Willow gave me the punchline. We found out something interesting during the sentencing hearing. Eleanor used to work at a luxury dealership years ago. Got fired for stealing a client's keys and joyriding. I blinked. You're kidding. Nope. Guess old habits die hard. At least this time, the only joyride she's taking is on a prison bus. I laughed, the sound light and easy. My Argenta celerity came back from the shop looking better than new. The HOA replaced Eleanor with a young couple, reasonable, calm, too busy raising twins to care about lawn color. The street finally had peace again. I realized the car wasn't the point. The real damage hadn't been to metal or glass. It was what she'd tried to break inside me. But she'd failed. Because strength isn't built on anger or violence. It's built on discipline, patience, and knowing when to let justice do the work for you. She destroyed a car, but she didn't destroy me. If anything, she reminded me that peace isn't hers to take. Call to action. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever faced someone who was so consumed by envy, they tried to tear your life apart? Was their motive personal, or was it something bigger, like an HOA gone rogue? Was John right to use force when his life was threatened, or should he have stayed inside? Drop your story, or your take on the line between personal freedom and community control in the comments below. And if you love seeing HOA justice served cold, hit that like button and subscribe, because there's always another wild tale around the corner.